Hey everybody, welcome to our subscriber stream tonight here. It's Thursday evening on lichess.org and Twitch. Slaggy is my name on Twitch, otherwise known as William Paschall. Just a little discussion about an opening in the chat room on Twitch. The so-called Franco Benoni, e4, e6, d4, c5. Okay, Kangas is a good player to study. He's a player who also plays the English defense, which is like, e6, b6 type of stuff. Kangas, a Latvian grandmaster who played a lot of kind of offbeat stuff. Larson played the Franco Benoni. Not a lot of like really super strong top players in history would venture this risky stuff, but I think the Franco Benoni is quite interesting. I think it's a good practical opening. Fully playable. Oftentimes white overextends themselves, so that's a good suggestion. Okay guys, so we're doing game analysis and blitz and rapid chess here on subscriber stream. 1080 only. I didn't change any of the settings, troll, so I don't know what's going on there. Move 11 says, I was watching a banter blitz. Spither was white. His opponent played e4, e6, d4, c5, and he said, I don't know what my opponent is doing after c5. I think he meant he doesn't know why his opponent's crazy enough to play something like that. I think he just means like this opening is not really common at that level, and also that maybe his opponent doesn't typically play that. He was clearly surprised by the fact that the opponent played that. I don't think that it's like a respected opening at the 2700 level. Maybe some players will argue white gets a definite advantage, but I don't think it's so easy either. I think it's a good practical opening, this so-called Franco Benoni. Although there's a lot of transpositions to other stuff like the French defense. I mean, if white just plays something like c3, you're going to have to transpose to some kind of French or c3 Sicilian. Anyway, guys, we're going to get started with some games and some game analysis. I've got quite a few suggestions for game analysis. If you're a subscriber, I'd like to welcome everybody. This stream is particularly for the subscribers to my Twitch channel, so we probably won't play, any of the other players. This guy, Derndatch, is challenging me to rated 3-0. I can't do that. We're playing subscribers mostly, and always, 7 plus 3 through 5 plus 3 through 7 plus 3 casual challenges. Nefedov challenged me to 7 plus 2. I don't know why. It's kind of a weird time limit. I usually do 7 plus 3. I guess he hasn't been here for a while. If you are a subscriber and I don't know your name, let me know. Sleman is a new subscriber to the stream. I'd like to thank him for subscribing. The man who owns the world, the man who sold the world, Bowie. I don't know who that is. Is that one of our subscribers? Sleman, are you challenging me, or is that just some random guy with good taste in music? Alright, it's 4 challengers so far. Nefedov is first. I'm going to take him. No complaints about Troll 7 plus 5. No, Nefedov, that's an exception I'm making because of Chess 960. I told him long ago I'm willing to do the 7 plus 5 with the Chess 960 because in Chess 960 I feel like we needed more time. No, so I'm not singling you out because you're a bad guy. We have a kind of understanding with Troll about the 7 plus 5. Alright, I'm going to accept your challenge anyway. 7 plus 2. Seven plus 2. This is normal chess, but I can let my clock run. Alright, Mr. Nefedov. What are we going to do with Nefedov? We got to take him out of his normal comfort zone here. What does he do if you play the bishop's opening against him? I've never tried this, and I don't regularly play the bishop's opening, but I thought we'll just kind of mess with him a little bit. See what he's got here. He's always playing the Schliemann or Yanish. I don't know, Janish, how you say it. The Russian version of the Schliemann. Bishop c5 now. Many possibilities. I guess you could play some weird stuff with f4. I don't feel like doing that. I guess we'll just transpose to a Joko. Knight e2, are you talking about this position? Yeah, that's trying to set yourself up for the Alapin, like Legal's mate or something. Knight e2, knight c6. No. You don't know what I'm talking about, neither do I. Alright, so d6, c3. We'll just transpose to a sort of gecko. I don't play this often. The move order is really kind of tricky. Knight e2. I was suggesting f4, a kind of Philidor gambit with colors reversed. Now a5, Karyakin style. Usually they do that in response to a4. Now I'm getting a5 just voluntarily. So I guess we'll transpose to some kind of standard position. Bishop b3 seems normal. I don't really know what I'm doing very well. I'm not an expert. I just kind of make principled moves. Trying to be a subscriber, but the card always gets rejected. Alright, bishop e6. Interesting here, the early bishop e6. Well, I don't mind exchanging bishop for bishop. But we have d4, it's a little early for that. Let's just castle. If he wants to exchange on b3, it's fine by me. They don't accept stolen credit cards. Yeah, like, that reminds me of when it happened like a year and a half ago. Somebody stole my credit card information from like a card skimmer and started buying gift cards to Brazilian restaurants. I think I should just develop here normally. Nothing fancy. Yes. Clash Kid is not a subscriber anymore. It's cool, man. We'll let it slide. You've been very faithful here to our stream, so I appreciate it. The Vienna with the bishop outside the pawn chain. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about exactly. This is a Joko piano. I guess. Pianissimo. Except black hasn't played knight c6. Does that matter? Yeah, I guess it does. What does that make this? Like a 2-knight? What is this? A 3-knight? What is this opening anyway? It's technically not a Joko piano because he hasn't played knight c6. It's a bishop's opening then. Because black never played knight c6, we never left the technical definition of the bishop's opening. It's just a weird, unusual version of the bishop's opening. It's a lot like a Joko piano, but he hasn't played knight c6. About the game yesterday, I was at work, you got distracted, didn't see queen f1. If I had played f4, yeah, it's kind of like a, like I was saying, it's like a Philidor counter gambit with colors reversed. So guys, today we're going to do like game analysis and just play blitz and in rapid chess if I can get comfortable. I was teaching today. I don't think I played at all since the last stream. I want to play d4. I want to play d4, make him give up his center. But is the time right? Is the time right for d4? How much pressure is going to be on my central pawn? Could take with a knight, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I wasn't thinking about bishop b4. Is he going to do like bishop b4? I think we're kind of taking over the center. funny, I hadn't considered bishop e4 to the last possible moment. It is possible. I feel like white should have a small advantage based on my pawn center. It's nothing tremendous. There's e5. Just knocking out the knight from its strong position on f6, but also possibly weakening my pawns a little bit. But if I can go through e4 with my knight, all my pieces are kind of migrating toward something like a kingside attack here. I mean, if he takes on d2, I can take on f6 and destroy his kingside. So he doesn't want to do that. Even knight takes e5 is not bad, but it's not the plan. Now his center is wiped out. Queen c8 was a slightly awkward move for black to have to play. Clash Kid resubscribed. Thank you so much. What is the range of ratings for my students? Well, I mean, everything from... There's really everything from beginners to relatively new, totally new beginners to 2200-ish. I've had a few 2200 players in the last couple of years, but not often. I mean, anybody that strong. People that usually get over 2200, in my experience, they become a little bit arrogant, so they're not as inclined to take lessons. Once you reach a certain point, you know, you think you don't need help anymore. I could probably help people up to like my own rating, but pretty much the cutoff has been around 2250. I haven't really worked with anyone higher than around 2250 in the last couple of years, but mostly in the middle somewhere. D takes e5, d takes e5. I like how the center is just like clearing out. Like, look at this, man. Who controls the center in this game? Center is not important. Who's the center, baby? Who controls your center? Now, where do I go? Knight e4, knight c4. Knight e4 is more in the direct center, and I like the idea of the knight maybe going to g3 if it gets kicked. Could also go to other squares from c4. We can go to e3, d5. So c4 is very tempting. There may be a concrete problem with c4, that queen e6 kind of pins me. But I definitely need to get unraveled here. I don't want my center to become overextended either. So I'm not that sure about this. Is my e5 pawn just going to become a target? Bishop f4 can be met by queen f5, but that can even be protected by queen e3. I really want to move my bishop so that I can just get on with life. But it's not so easy here. He's going to blockade that pawn on e5. Alright, I want to make sure this e5 pawn just never falls. I'll play queen e3 if I have to. Queen f5, queen e3. But I want my e5 pawn to be protected. I like his position except for the knight on h7. That can be rebrought. Can be recirculated back through f8 though. He has to watch for some tactics, but queen f5, queen e3, and then I'm trying to get my rook into the game. Actually, black looks okay here, despite having almost no control of the center. How many hours Arsenal fan? Okay, no other tricks here. I've got to play queen e3. It's a bit awkward. We are tied down to our pawn, which is on the same color as the bishop. Thus our space advantage offsets the fact that our pawn is fixed on the wrong color and stuff like that. I would assess this as about equal, I guess. It's a little bit, I would say a little bit unorthodox, the way that Nefedov just totally didn't care about having no control of the center there. But I need to make sure my stuff is protected. I don't know about bishop g3 though. I mean, it was possible to put my knight there, but I wanted to make sure that both these pieces are not ultimately unprotected. Maybe I have knight h4. That doesn't do much. All of his pieces are protected now. Black looks really very solid here. Tough position. Reminds me of like an open Roy Lopez or something. Well, we only have a chance on the clock, really. I mean, it doesn't look like positionally we're better. I like having the center, but there's nothing I can really do with it. Bishop g3 was kind of lame, but I don't like my queen tied down to protecting that bishop. This is a crazy move. Crazy. That is totally crazy. Wow. Pawn takes pawn, loses a piece. Can I do this knight there? Is my knight going to get trapped ultimately? How about knight h4? I have just no idea what to do here. f6 looks insanely dangerous for black. Queen b3 check just doesn't do anything. Can't protect my knight normally. Knight c5 and takes on b7. Then he has these weird tactical tricks. Maybe I'm just best off like sacking a pawn. Knight c5. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes b7. e4. He's like trapping my knight on b7. I guess I'm just sacrificing a pawn. That's fine. Let's see, check. Check and take. If I check and take, then he like follows my stuff around. His rooks are always hanging. Whew, that was close. Oh man, I mean, you were really tricky, Nefedov. You lost on time. But I want to see this position where I didn't know what to do. I came up with a solution. Turns out it was okay. Holy crap. It's like one of the best moves. Oh my god, knight d4. I thought forever on this move. Finding a solution here. The other solution, and the only good solutions are to actually sacrifice a pawn, temporarily at least. I'm really proud of myself for finding knight to d4. This was not at all easy, and we were down to 30 seconds each when I played knight to d4. Wow. Interesting game. I mean, I don't know about the opening. The opening was kind of weird. Let's see. This much is standard. It's all standard, but you played a5. I mean, I don't know what that is. Pretty random. Dejan Piccola played just bishop b3. Like, kind of very, very similar. If you play knight c6, you know, we'll transpose to a Joko at any point here, but bishop e6, castles. I thought I was slightly better. I don't know. But this bishop e4 was very stubborn. I underestimated this. It's amazing. I mean, it looks like I just own the center here. But what can I do with it? It's crazy, you know? I mean, by all classical principles, like having no control of the center at all with black here, one would think that black has to be worse. But it's chess is not that simple. There's just nothing in the center to attack. It's really strange. I mean, I don't know. Alright, so we're 0.1 better with absolute control of the center there. That's interesting. Black. Okay, guys, let's take a look at some games. Our first suggestion was the same, but let me see. Did I not click my... Alright, Nefedov 10 hours ago. Game to analyze. Let's do it. This is the Nefedov hour. Sorry if I missed some comments there. I might say something if you mentioned drinking 17 hours a day, too. Nefedov is going to chess club again. Be careful. The only thing I do 17 hours a day is drink. You know, I would never, you know, sleeping or playing chess, that would be like really... Alright, we got another suggestion from S4. What's up, Saul? Alright, this is Nefedov's game. He's playing black. That was my first attempt at playing the bishop's opening in a while. Nefedov playing g6. What's up with that? Okay, d6. Alright, I've looked at this before. Nefedov playing the King's Indian, which I never get against. And now he plays a6. Okay, basically, there is this sort of setup you can do, and I don't know what it's called, but basically a6, c6, and b5, kind of like Pirt's style. It's sort of this universal thing. You can do it against like any variation of the King's Indian, basically. You can do it against the Samish. You can do it against the Averbach. I was very much tempted to do it against International Master Miklos Kalyash at my tournament in December, but somehow I chickened out because I didn't remember the theory, so I ended up not doing... I did like c6 and then something stupid like queen a5, but you can basically play a6 and c6 and b5 against anything, almost anything. I guess not the 4 pawns attack, you just get overrun in the center. But anyway, like, it's a playable system. But Nefedov did something strange here. He did like a6, and then after castles... Okay, I don't know this at all. I mean, I would assume that c6 would be the logical follow-up with the idea of b5. Apparently, like, some people play bishop g4. This is something. Now, I'm not an expert on the relationship between a6 and bishop g4. I don't really know, you know, like, what this has to do with that. Yeah, maybe those moves are played sometimes, but I wouldn't really call this a system. You know, this looks kind of random to me. And the only people are like some random 2400s. I think that you've got to do a c6 and b5 here. Is there any other justification for black's play. I mean, you could just play like a6 wasn't there and just play, you know, knight on bd7 or something. Or probably anything. I mean, it's just not that bad of a move. But if you want something that's related to a6, I think you've got to play c6. c5, you're just playing, you know, you're playing like a Marazzi or Benoni. Now, if he does d5, you can turn it into a kind of Benoni. I think d5, b5 might be kind of like a justified Benko. Sorry, I should say Benko. So there's some old games here. You know, you can kind of trick white into some sort of Benko. Paul Keres did a similar type of Benko years and years ago. You see, like one game Kudrin played it in 1989 and lost to Lev Albert. I mean, while this is not as good as the regular lines of the Benko, because white doesn't lose his right to castle with like bishop a6, bishop takes f1. I guess it's playable in a practical game, although white's score is pretty strong, you know. It's a lot more comfortable playing the Benko where your king is like castled normally instead of, I don't know, crawling around to like g2 or h2 or something. So that's sort of a justification, but I think that Nefedov's like opponent here is probably on the right track by not playing d5. There's also the possibility of taking on c5, which has got to be like just a slightly better ending for white, but probably not that threatening. So what should white do? Yeah, I mean, bishop e3 looks like a good move to my mind. This, you lost yesterday over the board, Nefedov. My kind of rule of thumb with these knight g4 things is that if black hasn't played e5 yet, it's usually not that good. But I guess it's playable, like knight g4, bishop g5, h6 or something, with or without h6. I still like white here. I think white's got to be slightly better. So Nefedov didn't go with that. He just takes on d4. Now he's just transferring to a normal Marazzi where he's played a6 very early. And it's probably not a very great line for black. So, queen d2. The other possibility is rook c1. Or just f3 right away, by the way. I think this might be a good move against your a6. Just overprotecting e4. So there's no b5 nonsense. Queen d2, okay, it's a normal move. Bishop e6. I think this looks wrong, Pavel, because, you know, in the dragon, like, if white is castling queenside, you want it there. But here, I think you want it on d7 to support, you know, you'd normally want it on d7 to support b5. However, there are some lines, you know, in Marazzi, I guess, where you're putting the bishop on e6 and you're trying to play, like, queen a5 and rook fc8. The Roman Gigiashvili played this Gurgenidze variation. But that's different, you know. A totally different position. Bishop e6 is purely speculation. I think you should just play like bishop d7, you know, try to play a normal position. Maybe white goes knight c2, and you have, like, you know, my game with Magnus Carlsen's dad, again, on the board, something like that. Here's an old Larson game. I mean, it's playable. Oh, this is my game with Kenny Solomon. Look out, it's 2009. I beat Kenny Solomon. I totally forgot about that game. I didn't even remember the result, actually. I think I lost to that guy once, too. South African, I am. But this is unpleasant. You know, my game with Magnus's dad is not in the database, probably. It could be. Actually, why not? It might be there. But anyways, like f3. Bishop e6 is kind of weird. I don't like this move. However, taking on e6, you know, it may not be all that great. Stockfish likes it because it just likes bishops. But I think that knight takes e6 it's a little overrated by the computer. So I like just this move, controlling the position. Then rook c8. But maybe Kenny Solomon and Magnus's dad are, you know, probably on the right track with knight to c2. f3, queen a5, b3. Did he miss something here? Computer just likes taking on e6. First time you see me on the Opening Explorer. Yeah, I remember that game now and then, but I didn't remember the result at all. He later, I think, beat me in a game. So, Queen A5. Computer just overvalues bishops. It's always like a half pawn, like exaggerated how much it says white's advantage is, I think. What's white's best play here? You know, like a normal move? Why can't he play like rook fd1 or something? That looks like normal. I don't know. But the other possibility of retreating this is probably too late now. Maybe it's not. I was concerned about like knight e5, but sometimes white can go knight a3 in these type of positions. That's a bit awkward. He'd rather play b3. There's this knight d5 threat, but it's not really a threat. You can go back. Yeah, but what's up with knight to d5? Well, it's not black's move here. Yeah, knight d5. Okay, this is strong. But it's not that clear. Takes. Knight takes e7 check. King h8. Bishop takes d2. And then we get a pawn back with a trick. This is hanging. Wow. We're going to have to sack the exchange. This does look pretty weird. Okay, I don't like this for black. I don't like queen a5. Nefedov doesn't really know what he's doing in this line. You've got to be very, very expert to play the black side of the Marazzi. I mean, you just can't make any mistakes. But luckily for Nefedov, like, white didn't really know what he was doing either. Okay, so the actual game was b3, which is a normal move. Knight takes d4, bishop takes d4. This actually transposes to Wesley So against Mamedov from way back in 2009, before Wesley was the monster that he is today. Yeah, it's easy to draw me, not so easy to beat me. Knight d7 looks like it was played in some random game. You played b5, so you're following Mamedov, Rauf. And that's logical. So here, c takes b5, a takes b5. White let you out off the hook, just as Wesley did against Mamedov. I mean, something went wrong concretely here. So if we go back, b3 looks like the mistake. Computer gives f3 a question mark. I think f3 is okay. But what are we going to do instead of b3? What did I say? Rook 8, fd1 maybe? I think this looks best. Maybe rook fd1. But I'm not sure. I even like rook ac1. I'm not sure. Rook fd1, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4. This is just hanging. Do we have tactics? Yeah, we have knight d5 now, with the same kind of tricks. So, I don't know. This looks a little bit better for white. But, you know, I'm always criticizing the computer. Maybe this is actually not a bad move. I guess it's not that bad for white. Maybe white is better here, but I still don't think it's that easy. There's the f4, and the thing is, you can't do this kind of stuff because of like bishop g4. I think always becoming a problem is this diagonal here. So it becomes very precarious. Yeah, it does look like it would have been best to take the guy on e6. So in the actual game, you followed So Mamedov, and this is a new move. I'm not sure if black actually has a threat here, per se. But he gave himself, he gave you a nice threat. That was very heads up, man. I'm not sure I would have seen this. Setting up tactics. Takes, and then knight takes e4 was coming. Do you have it right away? You have bishop h6, Pavel. I think that's an interesting idea sometimes. I don't really like rook fd8. I mean, I don't know what you're doing there with rook fd8. Rook fd8 here. It's a strange move. It just doesn't... The rook is not on a particularly good square there. I mean, are you planning on knight e8 or something? Is there some reason for rook fd8? This move is active. Very active move, bishop h6, transferring diagonals. And the other idea is the classic trade the dark squared bishops, which here looks like very drawish, probably. You know, objectively, the white king will come to the center. It'll probably be like an equal endgame, objectively. So Nefedov just kind of bided his time, and the guy made a terrible tactical mistake with king f2. And Pavel didn't miss this. This is winning the game, basically, in one move. And the sequence here was kind of funny. Okay, you're up. You're only up a pawn at the end of the day. But the rest of the game, I thought you started to butcher it. Like, well, even this move, rook takes c1, I'm not sure about. I mean, why do we want to play rook takes c1? To give him the c file. You should be thinking about attacking white's king, but it's still not that easy. I mean, obviously e5 is a tempting move, but what do we do once he plays g3? Not that clear. This move I like a little bit more, but again, he can play g3. Then you take in e5. This just concretely looks pretty good. There is some knight e4 maybe, but still it looks good for black. So what did you do wrong? Rook takes, rook takes. Okay, I don't like giving him the open file, first of all. Then you play e5, fine. He plays g3, and now what? That's the thing, like, okay. We're going to attack the white king. We have an extra pawn. The problem is that e5 has kind of weakened our pawns in the center, and they could become a target. You take, and then you're going to try to attack the white king here. The g5 was bad because of the g file, and your own king is a problem. Well, you did have this move, but then king f3, and then the question is, now what? The computer finds this crushing bishop takes f4. So that was the most concrete you had, Pavel. I think this was absolutely best. Then you have to find some kind of computer-like moves. It looks like if you go into this, the guy has very good chances to draw. You know, this is probably very likely a draw. If you find this spectacular move, bishop g4 check, then you're probably a computer, you know? I mean, king takes g4, rook takes e2. And that avoids the opposite color bishop problem. And right now, you're probably still winning. But that's very hard to conceptualize that over the board. So instead you play g5. And I was kind of cringing when I saw g5 when I went over the game this afternoon. Obviously, you know, there's a problem here on the g line. And this isn't really optimal. So once this happened, it just got out of control. Now all of a sudden, black has problems. You got some checks, but it's not a big deal. And your pawns are all a mess. You've got isolated. These pawns are kind of fragmented. I don't think you're winning here anymore. f6, there's even more weaknesses. h4 is okay. But I think that at this point, it should be a draw. You know, the guy's just too active. Take. And then pawn takes is just a horrible blunder. So he has rook takes g5, and you're not even better. Like, but he just blundered bishop d4 check, so it wasn't exactly a quality finish there. But Nefedov needs some work. I don't trust you in this like Marazzi with black. I don't think it's a good opening unless you're like an expert, and even then it's like it's like unpleasant and difficult for black. So like if you play the King's Indian, like don't play c5. I mean, if you want to play this type of thing, you should play like a6, c6, and something like b5. and try to play like a Pirc style plan. Because this Marazzi is difficult. An alternative would be, you know, castles, c5, bishop e3. Maybe you can try this weird like knight g4 that the computer was suggesting to try to get a kind of modified version, but I'm not sure this is objectively better than the game. Interesting though, you know, maybe something like this. We could play a weird kind of Benoni, knight takes d4, c takes d4. But King's Indian, I think we need a lot of knowledge theoretically to play, and the Marazzi is really difficult. I've tried to play this kind of stuff, but it's not easy. Alright, so let's go back and play another challenge here against Troll. Chess 960. The bishop g4 seriously was difficult. I don't, you know, think many people are going to find that unless they're at least like FIDE master strength. I mean, some people might get lucky, but you're usually looking for something else. That's kind of tough. Thanks guys for joining me for the subscriber stream. We're doing game analysis and challenges with subscribers. I had a similar position the other day where I did something very, very stupid. I was black and I did like f6. And then I was like, why would I put my pawn on f3 in this case? Like blocking this bishop. If you're going to do anything, you have to do f4. Probably so that both bishops can play, you know, g3. And in that position I was attacking a pawn on a7, but like still. Be careful not to block in your pieces. Rook a8 was better in terms of piece activation. Yeah, it's kind of a weird position because there's a mutually open file on the c file, and so Nefedov did rook takes c1. I didn't really like that move. You know, it seems like the c file is important. As Clash Kid said, like you could actually leave the c file, go to the a file because you're attacking his pawn on a2, and that's kind of unpleasant for him as well. Guys, we're streaming tonight. I'm going to be playing all the subscribers that I can and taking some game analysis submissions. Are you trying extra hard against you? I don't know, man. Why do I have two screens open? But tomorrow also I'm going to be streaming in the morning. Friday, Blitz and Rapid Chess, 10 a.m. CET. So f4, f5. Today I decided, like I hadn't really made up my mind, but I think I'm going to play in the Budapest Spring Festival. If anybody's interested in a good open tournament here, it's actually kind of in the center, relative center area of Budapest. I think the dates are mid-April, something like the 16th to the 26th of April. It's a really good open Swiss system tournament here. I think there's like an open and an under 2200 section. f4, f5, g3. That's in mid-April. So that'll be my next like real tournament. I didn't play the last 2 years and it was quite strong, and I was kind of second guessing myself, like why would I not play in a strong tournament where like I don't even have to travel to play. Last year I passed up on the opportunity. I really kind of regretted it. I should be a GM, but I decided to play poker and drink too much instead. That's the honest truth. G3 and knight c6. Devoted quite a few years to studying poker very seriously. I mean, between like 2010 and 2009 and 2015, I was seriously not studying chess, but studying poker. I put a lot of time into it, and I can't say I regret it, but I do regret like neglecting chess for that time. I can't say I would be a GM, but I certainly would have had a better chance than not playing very much for 5 years. Knight c6. How am I going to set up the pieces here? We'll just copy. What's the difference between a GM and a super GM? 100 rating points? Or is it's a little more? Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, honestly, Clash Kid. I really think it's like oftentimes a bit of everything. Wow, e5. It almost feels like he's up a tempo. He's taking the first dynamic steps to open the position. But both my bishops are active, and only one of his is active. Yeah, Super GM is 2,700. Normal GM is 25. We have to reach 25. I mean, the truth about this is that there are a lot of Grandmasters who are like 2,450. I mean, it's like there's a lot of International Masters who are 2,350 or lower. I mean, you only have to like reach 2,500. You don't have to maintain it. But okay, overall across the world, the average for Grandmasters is probably like low 2,500s. 25 is probably average overall. Maybe 2,500-ish. 25. F takes e5, knight takes e5. I was never fortunate enough to make a GN norm. I came close once, within like a point, and lost a winning position. So it's like, it's achievable. I guess we're having trouble castling queenside, and there really isn't an option to castle kingside here. So I don't know what we're going to do. b7 looks kind of weak. He's threatening d5, just taking over the center. What if I play symmetrically? e4. It's normal to have other priorities. The Korchnoi. Acerbate. What's the difference? Why did you bring up Korchnoi? Life is chess. Chess is life. Korchnoi passed away last year. But he was playing really quality chess into his 70s, which not too many people can do. I think that was because of his commitment to the game, you know, sort of psychologically. g6. This is a strange move now. To let me take on f5? What's the trick? Let me destroy your pawn structure for nothing? Also, I can play d4. Both d4 and pawn takes f5 look strong. I thought he should have taken on e4, you know, symmetrically. Yeah, let's just take here. Ask questions later. But I like to see isolated pawns in the opponent's camp. I'm just having like hallucinations. I'm dropping some tactic. Tao the Maestro and board diversions. Benko wore glasses against Tao, like he wore sunglasses at the board. He said Tao's staring bothered him or something. It would be awesome to like interview Benko. Because he's still here. And he's like 90 this year. Paul is living in Budapest. At least at last I knew about. I used to see him from time to time. We never had any extensive conversations. I've chatted with him a little bit. But I'm just thinking of him in terms of his wearing sunglasses against Tao. Aren't I playing like d4 and then winning the pawn on d5? Also, I wouldn't mind trading queens. I feel a little safer with the queens off the board. The rating must stay 1666. Yeah, he's got the secret account to play rated games with. I think once he accidentally sent me a message with the wrong account. He was like, oh, this is my secret account. Chess 960. Anyway, guys, thank you for streaming. Thank you for watching. It's my pleasure to be streaming and doing this subscriber stream. Yeah, knight c4 is a little uncomfortable. Fortunately, like his bishop isn't threatening bishop h6 or something like that. Thank you guys for streaming. He didn't even recapture the pawn on g6, but maybe I should kick the knight. controversial decision to play this. I just don't feel like my king is safe in the given situation. Okay, I can just take on d5 first, though. Why not? I just hope like something doesn't pop up like bishop g7, bishop h6. When I get low on time, I always feel safer trading queens off the board. Was that the liquor talking? I wish it was liquor. I just worked a lot today. I think I'm just like a little bit tired. No liquor. Just water. So knight takes d5. Uh-oh. I forgot. You know, you just reminded me I can castle. I didn't realize I could castle. Wait, I can't castle. How did you do that? I can't castle. Only you can castle because I brought your rook to e8. I'm crazy. It is the liquor talking. I'm seriously spaced out. All right. No, but it's a problem now. That's kind of one of the reasons why maybe I should have considered b3. Anyway, it's okay. I mean, what's the worst that can happen here? I'm up a pawn. My stuff is protected. We can blockade. We can even blockade. Alright, I'm going to lose on time. Just blockading the weak pawn, the future weak pawn on f5. Future weak pawn. But now I'm paying the price for playing queen takes queen and helping him be able to castle queenside. I can't castle, I know. I was like, how come he can castle and I can't? It's not fair. Chess 960 is just not a fair game. I gotta get it out of there. I mean, I was going to do it last move, and then I kind of bailed. He's going to challenge my guy. Get out of my house, but it weakens the long diagonal, so it's very, very scary to play b3. At least now his knight can't go to f5. That was concerning me. You know, I didn't really want him to have that outpost for his knight. I can maybe stick a knight on e3 in some lines. Thinking about just doing c3 and securing my d4 pawn. But I think that black might even be better here. Temporarily he has the worst structure. But maybe he doesn't have a great choice for where to put his knight. If he plays knight d6, he blocks his own pressure against my d4 pawn. I still think that's where he should go. Knight d6, c3, and then like knight b5 is not a big deal. I'm more concerned about him challenging my strong knight on f4. You know, if I go, let's say knight d6, c3, knight g6, and now, you know, there goes like any symbolic advantage I have. But you might want to say, hey, well, you're like up a pawn, dude. And I would be like, well, I didn't even think about it because I don't even count material. So I'm up a pawn. All right, that's different. You guys think I'm drunk or something, but I'm not. I'm just a little bit like loopy because I'm maybe tired. I actually slept pretty well last night, but it's been a long day. I think I'm like, I'm not even realizing I'm up a pawn. I'm suffering for a reason here. Okay. We're suffering for a reason. So knight d6, c3, knight g6, and something like king up. He has some compensation for the pawn, but not enough then. I mean, in the instance that I am up a pawn, I'm changing my evaluation to slightly better for white probably here. I thought I was like slightly worse because, oh, like why am I like suffering? But I'm suffering because he's down a pawn basically. A worthy reason to suffer. Although I don't like taking material and consolidating. That's not my favorite style of play, like Korchnoi. Bishop f2 you suggested. Castling kingside didn't even enter my mind. His pieces are well coordinated. But he needs to get the knight out, obviously. It's possible to simply take. It might be my best move. Rather than waste time or let him, you know, rather than waste time or let him get active. It's not the only move, though. Nah. I don't know what to do. Alright, he's actually trying to beat me on time. I've never had this happen against Troll, where he was like playing for time, but it almost feels like that's what's going on here. It's very precarious. It feels like I'm playing the Marshall Gambit. Look at the guy's piece coordination. Like I'm playing, he's got huge compensation here. Every single piece is like perfectly placed for black. It's a good thing I'm up a pawn. This move is questionable, but I was about to lose on time. I didn't like my bishop on e3. Now there are other problems. Very awkward. Knight g5 or knight f6 or something, threatening to infiltrate. I want to trade some pieces here and everything would be okay. If I could trade even like one set of pieces, it would make a huge world of difference. So you have some tactics? Not immediately. I think I'm probably holding on, but he has full compensation. So much activity. I don't know how I can cope with it without trading a set of pieces, but I can't afford to give up my white square to bishop for the knight on e4. He'll just rip me apart on the white squares. Now hopefully he'll lose on time. 16 moves is not bad, Troll. Thank goodness I'm up a pawn. Pawn takes pawn, bishop takes d4, just sucking the life out of the position. Once I did that against Shabalov, I just like sucked the life out of the game, like systematically exchanging all the pieces. He was so sickened that he agreed to a draw. But against a really dynamic player, I mean, you got to be careful. Now this move, what's this do? I think he's just kind of blundering. Is there a discovery? Oh. Knight takes c3. It's a very, very good endgame for me. Oh, speaking of good endgames, let's get the rooks off the board. Or a good endgame lands here. Now obviously I could take on e4. Probably I should. My king would be a little bit stymied there. There's a knight f2 check. c4. I don't know if I like c4. I'm getting worried about this. I may have upped the screwed. I'm not sure I'm even better, but Troll has to play king e5, and then he's probably fully okay. And might even be better. How can you not play king e5 there, man? That's like you're threatening f4. Oh my god. I think I'm a pawn up and worse after king e5. Whoops. Let's see. Game analysis, final position is winning, but prior move. Okay, I'm not lost, but it doesn't look good after king e5. I mean, I thought that h4, f4, and you're fine. Honestly, did I miss something? What am I missing here? This is draw. You know, I'm lucky I don't lose, like lose my h-pawn and lose the game or something. c4 was horrifying. Here I am. I didn't know what to do in this position. Okay, it's not easy. Maybe it's not a winning position. I mean, his pieces are pretty active, and I'm only up one pawn. Really good game by Troll overall. I thought he had compensation for the sacrificed pawn. I didn't even know I was up a pawn. He had so much compensation. It didn't feel like I was up a pawn, man. So I don't know. Computer claims I was better, but I thought it was an inspired pawn sacrifice by black, and at the end it's probably a draw. At the right before the end, when he blundered with b6. After b6, king d4, it's just a trivial win, but yeah, good job, Troll, hanging in there. I mean, this is just too strong now. My king is just in too strong a position. I lost an endgame like this against Axel Gergo in the spring. You can play it, but it looks awfully good for white with the pawn up and the good king position. I really think, and these pawns are fixed on white squares. If they weren't fixed on white squares, maybe black is okay here. You know, if those pawns are on like f6 and g7, this very well might be a draw. But the fact that your pawns are up on white squares probably makes it lost for black, because I can play h4, and without like doing king e5 and f4. Yeah, I mean, the best line after king takes d4, I mean, prior to king d4, if you don't blunder with b6, this line, seriously, king e5, h4, maybe I have another move, I don't know. The computer's looking at knight d1. Troll played b6, he seemed to be afraid of c5. I mean, maybe he's on to something that I don't know about, you know, but I'm scared of g5. But maybe the computer understands something here, I don't know. Knight c4 check, king d5, knight d6, there's weird possibilities. But I still think that black has excellent chances to hold this somehow. So Troll played b6. Anyway, guys, let's focus on another game to analyze. We had a game here from Acerbate. I'll bring this up. So against Magnus, he's playing against Magnus. Tushar said it's like 1 hour, it's just the second game. Well, it's like really we're focusing more on game analysis than playing blitz and stuff. That's the point of the stream for the subscribers. So we're trying to be like thoughtful about chess and really like, you know, concretely learn something rather than just play mindlessly like blitz. But we do the blitz, like kind of keep our brains active, have a little bit of fun. Acerbate is black. This is e4, so c5, c3, e6. E6 is Kasparov's preference, one of Kasparov's preferences. Tushar, you're not complaining. No, it's okay. It's hard to pick up context. I wasn't sure. Yeah, usually some people might complain. Very defensive. But d4, Kasparov like really liked playing the Sicilian with the c3 Sicilian in this line, and Gary was willing to play the black side of the advanced French, which a lot of Sicilian players don't want to touch. But I think on Kasparov's level, he's so, you know, knowledgeable. I mean, he understands that like the advanced French is really a pretty good variation of the French by French defense standards. So if you're really expert, you have the best trainers in the world, they'll show you you're guaranteed to get equality if you have Kasparov level experience and training against the advanced French. But a lot of people don't like to play, you know, say the advanced French, so they're afraid to play this line. Knight f3, knight c6. Yeah, I had a game with Ed Formanek, an American IM, who played like e5 here, and like I knew that the recommendation was to play d4, but Ed beat me anyway because he was just stronger than me at that time, and the game becomes very like complex, I think, after d4. It's highly recommended, but is it really that good for black? I'm not so sure. So, anyways, Asterbay plays knight c6, and this is going to lead to another kind of French. After d4, black has to play d5, and the guy didn't do d4. He did the weird move here, knight a3, which isn't bad, but it's obviously non-critical, you know? I mean, this move can't be the best move. Computer gives it a question mark. It's a little bit of an exaggeration to be that harsh. It's not the best move. I mean, obviously d4. Alternatively, you could play some weird this, but that's just a Rossalimo. So knight a3, knight f6. A good way of avoiding the French, maybe. The only way. The only way to avoid the French. d4. Oh, this really avoids the French. And now the proverbial question as to whether you should take the pawn on e4 with or without exchanging on d4 first. I would never trade my bishop on f8 for that knight on a3. The computer's talking about that in that line. There's no way I'm doing that. That's just too strong of a piece with pawns on white squares. Thanks for being here, Soltigo. I just pointed out Kasparov because not that many Sicilian players like to play this e6 line against the c3 Sicilian, and Kasparov was like one of the best players in history, obviously, number 1 or 2 or 3, and he, like, just coming to mind, there aren't that many guys who like to play the e6 type of variations, and he adamantly thought they were good. Knight takes e4, winning a pawn. I think you could also play c takes d. Oh, there's an intermezzo. So the problem is this. Wait, e5. That's a bit weird, you know, so we have to go like knight takes e4 right away. Bishop d3. You can play either knight f6 or d5. This I don't like. I don't like it on principle. It's like awkward and unnatural. So maybe you had some plans. I don't know what they were. To go to f5 doesn't look appealing. So you just need to make a natural move here. I mean, natural moves. This is a natural move, and this is a natural move, and either one is good. f5 obviously is dangerous to weaken your king side. Even that's playable, but this is awkward. You know, where are we going to go after this? I mean, I forget about this. I don't want to put my knight on f5, and I don't want him to take. Okay, we're going to have to and play that, but not a structure I really want to play. So I don't know. Why would you play knight d6? That's very strange. The guy has no compensation for a sacrificed pawn after d5. And if you don't like d5, then you can play knight f6. But I really think you kind of almost have to play d5. I mean, you can try to do without it and play d6, and it's kind of passive for black, but I guess it's possible to do without d5 if you really hate playing French defense type of structures. But this move is just weird. And he doesn't even think, he doesn't take on c5. I mean, this is such a good position for white now. I mean, first of all, he could try to like hold on to the pawn on the queen side with maybe b4. I mean, this actually looks reasonable. Another one is just ripping that guy off. The bishop takes f5. I mean, this may not be that bad for black, but it looks extremely awkward. There's this, b4, knight c4. Okay, first he should probably guard this, and then go on about his business. Castles. He could do that after taking on c5, but now... Yeah, I don't understand why you're not resolving the situation here in the center with some kind of move like after this. I still don't love this knight on d6, but at least you're up a pawn for this awkwardness. But g6 takes too many moves. You've got to spend 2 moves now to get your kingside developed. Okay, the advantage is he can recapture on f5 with the g-pawn. Good. So white has something like bishop takes f5 and knight d6 check, and still he has some advantage, probably. Because your king is just not that safe. In this sort of position, bishop takes f5, g takes f5, knight d6 check. Whatever happens, I mean, probably black is okay here, but it's not very pleasant because the dark squared bishop is all over these weak squares on the king side. And black's bishop is buried. I mean, it's just, this is a checkers game for black here. It's not easy. But still, that's probably the best. Yeah, so I mean, you're kind of lucky here to survive this long after that awkward mistake. But castles and you're alive again. It's not clear what's happening now. He's just playing without any plan. I mean, knight e5 has no point whatsoever. He's just randomly putting his knight on e5, actually helping you by trading pieces. Queen h4. It's not a bad move necessarily, but g3 might cost you some time. And then you sacrifice the piece, and this is just not working. So, black panicking here. Just put the queen on a sensible square. As I said last time, queen h3 looks like you're asking to get the queen trapped. I mean, it would be a nice square, but you've got to be very careful about this bishop coming back to f1. I'm a little bit reticent, you know. There's several bad things, like queen h3, bishop e2, and bishop g4, or queen h3 and bishop f1. So yeah, I mean, I think bringing the queen back, maybe to e7, looks like, you know, the most rational thing to do. But after this, you're just down a piece. I don't know why he would take with the bishop, honestly. I mean, h takes g is just fixing his pawn structure, and he can even attack you down the h line in this position. It seems like white should definitely take with the pawn. The computer likes it, though. Stockfish likes taking with the bishop. Okay, well, it's alright. It's a pawn. I mean, it's a piece for nothing. You know, now you're just down a piece for nothing. But he's dropping f2. Whoops. Oh, no. So he has to take with a rook. You did see this, though. But even now it's not clear. Now it's like a piece for 2 pawns. What do we got? 3 pawns. A piece for 3 pawns, but there's no development. You've got no bishop, no rook, and your kingside dark squares are just really weak. So it's still not enough compensation, though. Maybe we can play b6 and bishop b7 and toast his king on the diagonal. Even that's not going to be that easy to organize because he can defend like e4 with bishop e4. So even here now, you're still lost. King h1, b6, right? Trying for bishop b7. He sees it. Yeah, and that's awkward. Well, you can play d5. In fact, you have to play d5. It's funny how you didn't move that pawn. You should have moved the pawn like on move 7 or whatever. And like you've been refusing to move that pawn. That's weird. I mean, it's almost like you have a mental block about playing d5. Maybe you don't like the French defense so much that you don't want to play d5 here. Bishop a6 counterattacking, but you're not pinning anything. So you can just play like knight c7. Instead, he plays this, which actually puts his knight into a pin. You had an even stronger move, maybe here, I was thinking, to attack the e4 bishop. I'm not sure. Queen e3. You still manage to keep your king relatively safe and less open than his king, and you're threatening bishop b7 now, which I guess he fell for. So he just forgot himself, you know, forgot about the danger. It happens a lot. One of my students yesterday sent me a game where he lost to, like, he's a player 600 points lower. I guess in a time scramble or something he got mated. He just forgot the guy could even possibly beat him, you know, and that's kind of what happened to white here. White's been winning the whole game, and he thinks that, you know, or most of the game, and he thinks that no danger exists. But this is just absolutely crazy. I mean, look at the moves a minute ago. In this position, he saw something. I guess he was thinking about winning pieces rather than defending his king. But it looks like he has a consciousness of, it seems like he has a consciousness of the fact that there is danger on this diagonal. But maybe the fact of the matter is that he just simply was thinking about winning material rather than defending his king, and sort of accidentally defended his king. But after this, to just miss bishop b7 is like, ouch. And that's not only losing all your pieces, but getting mated as well. Now he has to play queen takes d5 check, but this is gruesome. So I don't understand knight d6 in the opening, though. That was very clumsy and got you in trouble. All right, guys, let's play another game. Clash Kid is up, 7+5. You played the opening perfectly, you know, and then knight d6. That's awkward. I mean, if you could put your knight on f5, I would think it would have been all right. But the guy's bishop on d3 was sort of perfectly placed against that idea. Clash Kid is tough. Okay, e4. What are we gonna do? Oh yeah. All right. Let's try this. My new opening. You send a game which you played perfectly. Then you're only gonna hear me talk about what the other guy should have done. The weird defense. The weird French. Clash Kid, were you here yesterday? I was playing this, and I like it. It's kind of fun. It's fun and challenging to play a new opening. It's probably not that good for black, but it's playable. Leads to some interesting positions. I take back. I don't think you sent me a game to analyze. I mean, we might not get to all the game analysis because there were quite a few tonight. I've got Soltigo, Sal, and Soltigo, Clash Kid. Okay. And Heberbom. So we got like enough. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get to many more than that. I'd rather focus on the game analysis than the blitz games, though. This is bad. I hate this opening. Oh, this is the game I played against Tushar. I also played it against another player. I don't remember who it was yesterday. You don't have any worthy games. All right. Well, you know. A3, hyper-prophylactic. Novelty. I was going to do a video series about prophylactic thinking, but I just don't have time, so I'm going to pass on it. But A3 would be in the video series, Clash Kid. That's a classic prophylactic move in the opening. Taking all the fun out of my setup with bishop to b4. There will be no more bishop to b4. You know, maybe I could venture something else, like transferring to a King's Indian type of setup after g6. Might be not so bad. So he's playing e5 here. Okay, so queen h4 is a little bit unsound. Speaking of Korchnoi, someone mentioned Korchnoi. I have a collection of like his oldest games. You know, some book that was like his games from the beginning of his career for the first like 20 years. He actually played the Nimzovich defense in a few games, but he also played the French like famously. Korchnoi was a big time French player. This is a cross between the Nimzovich and the French. Okay, a3 is arguably slow, but a good move in some principled way. The bishop isn't coming out just now. I could try to play knight f5 to force him to play maybe c3. Okay, f4, I'm actually happy to see that. I feel like I can play the structure pretty easily. It's still probably good for white, but position sort of plays itself, as they say. How dangerous is g4? I'm not sure that g4 is even a good move for white. Then again, like, what is my plan here? G4, knight, H4. And white is a little overextended. Bob sent me a game. He said, I like my stream. Why does he lose to lower rated players? You Googled me. But that's like an old Reddit post or something. I mean, it was like some... What we said... GDI. A goddamn independent. Not everything, don't believe everything you Google. Yeah, I mean, I actually don't lose that many games. And first of all, secondly, it's hard to play when you're streaming. But I'm not offended by random Reddit posts. The most reliable place for information on the internet. So bishop e2, I think I may have to play h5, for better or for worse. I was looking at this opening, and yesterday on ChessBase, and there were some old games by transposition. Nimzovich actually played this kind of stuff. And another player that interestingly played this weird knight c6 early weird French was Salo Floor, who was Czech grandmaster. One of the best positional players, I think, ever. I saw one of his early games. Man, it was one of these lines, just really abstract. Also Korchnoy's early games, some very abstract stuff. Some people just basically don't know what they're talking about. You think you posed that? Yeah, it was probably Bob who posted the question on Reddit or something. Queen d3. What's Queen d3 about? What's that about? What's he doing? Always try to understand what your opponent is doing. And if you study Grandmaster games, which you should, because I think it's the best way to improve, don't just play through the moves. Like, if there's a move you don't understand, you need to take time to stop and think about what's happening. You need to understand what that Grandmaster was thinking, or at least try to understand, not just skipping through the moves. When I see Queen d3, I'm thinking, what's this guy doing? Is he just want to play knight d2, but he doesn't want to block his queen from protecting d4? Huh. Knight a5 was an idea that Korchnoy used. I mean, sometimes knight b8 is actually necessary to go back. We can also play, like, probably b6. b6 and a5. I don't mind b6. Maybe a5 and bishop a6. Like in the various lines of the French, where you have to do that. But this isn't really my forte, as they say. So it does look like he was basically about... Clash Kid is about playing knight d2. I think we understood the intention of queen d3. Now we have threats of bothering his queen. He just won't walk into this trick. I've been setting up this trick, trying to get him to castle so I could play knight takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop c5, skewering his queen to his king, but he wouldn't bite. And he's playing knight f1 now. So we get to trade our bad b. The bad bishop. And he has to take with the king on e2, which is pretty darn awkward. So it just looks like a decent kind of b6 style French. I said it was Reddit post. Maybe it wasn't a Reddit post. I don't know. It's not important. We don't have to draw attention to it, Bob. We'll try to deny the trolls rather than feed the trolls. Okay, he finds a tricky move with queen c3. I really want to play knight b4 just for the sake of being fancy. But I can't afford to lose a piece here. That sucks. He found a way to not have his king get marooned on e2. That is really, really annoying. But nevertheless, we'll have to make the best out of it. We will make the best out of it, and I still think that black achieved the important strategic goal of trading off the white squared bishop, which is generally a bad piece. Yeah, now my normal reaction here is to play g6. In this kind of structure, which I get in the English with the white pieces a lot, I typically prefer to play it like this and take toward the center. Also in the King's Indian, when I have a knight on c5 and I can support it with a pawn on b6, I like to capture toward the center, if possible. Of course, it's possible to take with the e-pawn. You know, maybe I have to think about playing a blockade type of thing with like knight d8, knight e6. But it chips away at my overall control of the center. My rook on a6 is obviously ridiculous here. Reddit-culous posts on the internet. Let's just bring him back. Because that's only trouble. Only bad things can happen when you have pieces hanging randomly like that. But Mr. Clash Kid is being very stubborn with not giving me any kind of play or tactics and tricks. Where to put my king is kind of the biggest question of the day. I don't really want to commit to castling kingside or castling queenside, because then he kind of knows where to attack. This is a tough position to know what to do. I guess I can play a4, grabbing space. Looks kind of risky though. a4. Just a matter of time till something bad happens. Waiting move. He has 3 minutes to my 1 minute. You could be the mayor of Reddit chess. Reddit-culous. Z Nation chess. Think like a zombie. That'll be my next book. How not to play chess. Jonathan Rowson from Scotland wrote, like, Think Like a Zebra. Or Chess for Zebras, sorry. Think like a zebra. Think like a zombie. Be a chess zombie. How not to be a chess zombie. Yeah, this is an excellent move by Clash Kid. Like, he won't give me anything. He's just, like, grinding away. Not giving me any kind of play. He won't... That's why I didn't play a4, because I knew he'll never do something stupid like play b4. He's just, like, building up in the center. Maybe I need to play a4, actually. Kind of keep him honest somehow. If I don't play a4, he's going to go c4 and start to blast me. But I feel like all I can do here is kind of maintain the blockade, so to speak. Maybe I'll start playing the French. Maybe I have a natural affinity for it. I don't know. I didn't really give it a fair chance. I lost to Hikaru this one game, and I was so disappointed I never played the French again after that. Probably being a little harsh on it. I think the French, you need a lot of experience. It didn't start as a proper French, but this knight c6, e6, eventually d5 is a form of the French defense. Lyrics of some kind. Yeah, we get that a lot from Troll. I used to like to put lyrics in my ICC profile. Well, what's going on with the knight d2? Just Mr. Tension. Then maybe c5. I think the Clash Kid is obsessed with tension. He won't give up the tension. The other day when I was talking to you, Arsenal fan, and I hurt your feelings, I didn't mean you were playing for cheapos. What I was talking about was playing for Zwischenzugs, which means like tense in between moves, you know, constantly not like doing what the other guy thought you were going to do, but like constantly trying to find these like tricky moves in between like the expected moves. I didn't mean it as a negative thing. Actually, Arsenal fan probably left, and I'm like talking to the air. But anyway, Arsenal fan, when you see the video later, you'll know what I was talking about. Yeah, the tension move. Only tension moves. But I can take here. He's trying to like bust through to my king on g7 with that bishop, that sick bishop on b2. I can't let that happen. No matter what happens, I am not going to let him bust through on my king with that bishop on b2. Looks like he actually blundered. So usually the famous last words. Okay, we're out of the woods. And there's no way that knight is going to get me. The ultimate French defense. Damn, you were threatening rook takes c4. I didn't even realize that. I just played rook a4 on general principles. Alright, good to see it. h4 at some point might even be a good move. Something's got to give here. Well, we're winning. We have a clear, like, monster pawn there. Queen and knight combination. That's really where it's at. Clash Kid is tricky though. You don't want to give him any kind of chances. Alright, there it goes. The ultimate defender. We got to land the first blow here. Clear the second rank. No. Okay, h4 is a really big threat. This isn't exactly a knockout blow. I ought to have something here. I have no checks. I really didn't want to trade rooks into a queen ending because it becomes kind of tricky. He's got a check, but only one check, right? What a defender. H4 takes, king up, king up, king up, king up, king takes. H4 takes, king up, king up. Should win. G5 probably wins. Maybe G5 is technically better, I don't know. What a fighter. Eventually I'll play G5. Man, that was tough. Tough game as always. Clash Kid is really strong. I don't think anybody's ever played A3 before in this position. A3 novelty though, useful move. Alright guys, let's do another game analysis. I still owe Soltigo, Heberbomb. We have like a little under an hour left. Why the heck did you do D2 was winning? I had D2? I must have missed something. Sorry. Like I'm sure I missed a lot. So this is a game, a live game, I guess, where you're white. But Haberbomb, thanks for subscribing. Hey Raymond Carver, what's up? Yeah, always Clash Kid is tough. Okay, the guy's playing like the old Indian defense here, or Philidor, universally. So here I would give like a little lecture about, you know, tension. If you look at the games in the database, the vast majority of players are going to play knight f3. The engine is funny, it likes d5. But this not all. I'm not sure all computers, like all these like top programs, would agree on this. I'm not sure if, like, I don't know, Houdini would also prefer d5 to knight f3 categorically. I really think that white's best is to bring out the pieces without relieving the tension and releasing the tension in the center. So I'm not surprised here that the primary move played by white is knight f3. I mean, d5 is not bad, but it seems like you're committing kind of early. So the best for black here, I've seen like Attila Sebe play g6 and try to trade his bishop like on h6 or something like that. One of his last tournaments, Grandmaster Laszlo Vadas of Hungary, he tried to do a similar thing against me. He used to play this kind of modern with knight d7. The plan of playing bishop h6 seems like the best strategically. That's a very bad piece. Black wants to trade it off. So I don't trust Stockfish that much on the d5. I will tell you, I believe this is stronger than d5. Okay, so d5, knight f6, probably not the best move. I like Seba's g6, bishop h6 there a little bit better. He's going to end up transposing to a King's Indian, or Old Indian here. And then we have the classic Nimzovician question about attacking the base of the pawn chain or attacking the head of the pawn chain. While f4 is aggressive and kind of fun, and maybe not that bad, I think it's the wrong idea. Black's strong point here is on e5. And when you play f4, he can be like Nimzovich and take on f4 and use this square for his pieces. He has very good control of that square. I mean, maybe even a maneuver, who knows, you know, knight e5 or somehow playing for knight g4. Not that easy to play knight g4 though. Okay, just here right away, probably the best move. Black is okay here. You know, I think that this is okay for black. So attacking the pawn chain frontally with f4 is not really the best. It takes a really long struggle, but really, I mean, you ought to be thinking about like b4 and c5 ultimately on the queen side. So f4, not my favorite here. It's playable, but you're also risking your own safety with this straight diagonal here. Queen c7 looks a little robotic to me. I don't know where he belongs best. Anyway, okay, it's still interesting for white. You have some attacking chances. Queen c7, bishop d3, knight f8. It's too passive, you know. Okay, knight f8. Maybe it's not bad. It looks a little too passive. You could even play f5, you know, honestly. I didn't like queen c7, though. I mean, if you really want to go on record, this is some sort of weird robotic move. Probably black should just castle, you know, castle kingside, and there's nothing to fear. Again, I think you should take on f4 at some point. Play more like straightforward chess. This is weird, you know, queen c7. This guy probably watched some video on the internet, you know, where the author promoted this kind of weird plan of knight f8, knight g6, and then tried to apply it in a position where it's a bit strange. I mean, if white plays f5, black looks pretty stuffed in, you know. He's going to have to play like g6. That looks dangerous, you know. So I think that black is trying to apply like a pattern of maneuver and development here that maybe isn't really applicable to this position. He plays knight f8, you played h3, not a bad move, but f5 looks better. And then knight h5, and he's trying to exploit those weak squares directly. Okay, you've got to be careful about the weak squares in your position on the dark squares. Probably not fatal. Take, take, and the dark squares could go. So this is risky. I would prefer going here, so bad things don't happen with him, like taking over this dark square diagonal. And I don't think that knight g3 is a problem. You know, you just move your rook, and you have to forfeit castling. But I think his knight is awkward there. You know, it might almost be trapped. Okay, you probably didn't like the idea of your rook getting boxed in, so you played this. h6. Yeah, this looks like typical setup, the so-called black lion or whatever. I think that this is actually better for black when they do the Philidor, like the normal Philidor. Probably Simon Williams recommends that. I don't know, but in the King's Indian, in the Old Indian, I'm not sure this is as good. I have run into it in the normal, whatever it's called, the main line of the Philidor, and there somehow I felt that it's more dangerous. So he has some threats, obviously, but his king is still ultimately in the center. You went for the knight takes e5, hitting his knight on h5. It looks like this is also your center's too strong, right? You're threatening d6. His play is too slow. You know, so instead of being a maniac, I mean, black should have done something sensible here. Hey, this is a good chance to like put my bishop on a good diagonal, you know, where maybe it's not so bad. And then maybe he can play like a5 or something to ensure that it doesn't get kicked back off that diagonal. That was what I was afraid of as far as you playing bishop e3. And now, okay, you're winning out of hand because of g5 is just insane, you know. Knight takes e5. This is strong. I guess he has some Zwischenzug here. Knight g3. We have to calculate what's going to happen after that. Knight g3, knight takes f7, and knight takes f1. Well, there's quite a bit of calculation. Is that what happened? Yeah. This is what happened in the game. Pretty tricky. The computer finds a, you know, very difficult move, bishop d4, but I don't expect most people to find that, including myself. Knight takes f7 looks pretty logical. And I guess this is like an exchange sacrifice. Knight takes f1. I would have gone for queen takes f1. I didn't see your move, which may be good. But it may involve giving up too much material, I'm not sure. But I think that this situation is pretty stable. Like his rook is hanging, and we are threatening e5. But actually it's not so stable, because after this move, there's a problem. Computer finds bishop e2, but that's hard for a human to conceptualize this so far in advance. Like this move might be more likely that we could have seen this in advance. d6, bishop takes d6, knight takes d6, queen takes d6, but that's still tough, man. Look at this tactics you have to see here. Bishop takes, knight takes, queen takes, and then e5. Whoops, like both your heavy pieces are hanging. And there, that's a problem. So we're going to win back material. And still you have to find like another Zwischenzug, rook e1, to win the game. And even then he has a defense. This is not easy at all. Oh my god. And then knight e4. Well, in the final position, I mean, the material is just even, but then you're like overwhelming him with king safety and development. So maybe you don't have to think about it tactically, but just like you're just better in accumulation of advantages. But let's see what you did. Queen h5, because that's a fantastic move. The problem is he can come back here. Yeah, that's a big problem. Do you have something on that? Knight g3. This is the game. Wow, I didn't think this works. Knight d6 check. This is the game. Oh my god. So his king gets sucked out to e5. Oh, I'm glad you showed this game. King d7, queen e8 check. King takes d6. Damn. I was expecting c5, and then I didn't see the end of the line. I didn't see how this works. I mean, it feels like this has to work somehow, though. This king has to be lost. I guess this would win ultimately for white too, but not so easy. Bishop f2, for example. His bishop's pinned, his rook is out of the game. It's like all of his pieces can't move. It's really hilarious. This can't move. This can't move. This can't move. This can't move. This like can't move. He can't move any of his pieces. That's ridiculous. Without losing something. But you won even more accurately, it looks like. Bishop d4 threatening mate in 1. 2 different ways. That's irresistible. So he does like the only move, c5 check. Bishop e5 check. Oh man. That's devastating. Really beautiful finish. So insane. I mean, I did not see queen h5. I didn't think that would be... I would probably have played like this relatively lame. Queen takes f1. Really beautiful game. Alright guys, let's play another game. We've got like 40 minutes left. One last game, I think. We'll play Nabil, and then I'll do a couple of game analyses that we did not get to yet. Nabil's challenging me 5-3, 960. Just for fun. guess he's actually tricked me because he's not a subscriber, but oh well. I started the game, so I'll be a man of my word and finish it. But I should be taking subscriber challenges. Alright guys, we're going to get to the game analysis though. I still have to do the game with Saul, Soltigo, and Bob. So we still have 3 more games we have to analyze. That was an awesome game though. That was like a brilliancy from some. I mean, that was a brilliancy. Yeah, awesome game. Absolutely. I'm going to play like kind of symmetrically here. I know, Soltigo. I don't know why you guys challenge me if you're not subscribers. You know better today. But anyway, he tricked me. Alright. B3. What to do now? Bishop B2 is coming. We're just going to have to develop the queen. But how? Where does my queen get out here? G5? That's crazy. My queen doesn't get out. Period. We're going to have to do something awkward. Maybe my queen doesn't get out over here. Or else I'm going to have to play G6, which is really, really ugly. After queen H5, I looked at knight takes E3, D6, and I thought that would be winning. Right. Yeah, I was concerned about the knight G3, but apparently nothing works. Bishop C2. So I thought I could castle queenside. That's the best plan here for black. Maybe bishop F4. It seems awkward and artificial to castle for me. Either way. If bishop takes F6, that's nothing. I'm actually hoping he does bishop takes F6. But anyway, this is not too long of a game, the 5+3, so we'll have time to do those game analysis. He goes mental. But I have knight to D4. The problem with that may be he takes, sacrifices the exchange, but my rook on A8 is like condemned to death. Bishop F4 is interesting. Where is my knight going? I'm going to have to retreat, and then my bishop is exposed. G4 is a strong move. G4, a very, very strong move. Extremely strong move by white. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm kind of paralyzed in fear. How about knight B4? Let's do that. I mean, this will enable me maybe to play my knight to E4. Juicebox Wizard challenged me. I don't know how many more challenges I'm going to be able to do because I want to get to the game analysis. I'm just going to take on F3 here. And just hope for control of the dark squares. Deep breathing exercises. H6 maybe? What about like weakening my kingside? Bishop F4, G5, knight H5, queen G4, G6. I like it. What am I doing? Not in that position. All right. Exchange means nothing in this kind of position. The exchange. Rook for bishop or rook for knight. Did I change the start time? No. The answer is no. No. Knight c6 back to where we started, but we've got control of these dark squares in the center of the board. I can castle queenside, no problem. I mean, he could still try to open lines, but I'm feeling much better about this position than I was a few moves ago. Alternatives to castling queenside include h6 and not a whole lot of other moves. Yeah, I definitely like castling queenside. Have to touch the rook. So his queen wants to kind of come out somehow, but I'm not going to let him without a fight bring that queen into the game. The main concept is sacking the exchange here. Queen g4, g6, bishop takes h8 with a very good position for black. Material is overrated. We have a kind of lockdown on the dark squares. I'm also threatening the devastating bishop e5 there. This looks really good for black. His queen is almost mated. But still maybe not that easy. 95. We gotta calculate. Queen d4 looks like a good move. Just kind of controlling the center. I mean, even if queens were exchanged, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't change that much about the position. My compensation is strategic, you know, not really tactical. Castles. I guess 95. I feel like I need to go after his queen somehow. Okay, I can take the pawn on g5 simply, and then we'll have some good material compensation and good squares. Huge squares for the pieces, and very good compensation. I mean, f5 will basically stymie him altogether to the point where he like can't do anything. He's like paralyzed. If he tries to play bishop e4, I just play f5. He can do like a double piece sacrifice or some kind of trick. Yeah, that's what I mean. I have even better, maybe. There's this move. I had a little hallucination here. It's probably not a big deal though. This looks very, very strong for black. I do f5. You can play knight c2 and kick my queen out, but it's not a big deal. If my king was on c7, yeah, that would be the position I really want. Now we have interesting threats. Not only taking his bishop, but rook h8. This is really deadly. His queen is like trapped on h7. It doesn't have anywhere to go. He has to move his king to h1 or something. And I'm just taking anyway. It's over. I just take his bishop on a8 and then play rook h8. His rooks are just like useless. He could play like maybe knight c2 I don't know. John Bartholomew, well, he always was sort of connected to chess.com, I think. Now we have to go back. Also queen d3. No, queen d3, queen e1. So I guess I prefer just going back. But now he'll have g7 for his queen. Anyway, it's more fun this way. More fun. I'm sure I didn't play the best move. I should just be more direct. Queen d3 was very strong. There are many good moves for black. He's basically playing on out of momentum. I mean, there's like just nothing left to do. Okay, guys, we're going to get to the game analysis. There were a lot of good moves. Yeah, knight h5 was tempting. There's no salvation for white in any line. Looks like I have too much material. Probably on d3, I just move my... Okay, this has got to be decisive. He has f3 here. Oh my god. He didn't play f3. So f3, like, how clear is f3? What? Oh, he's in double check. I'm sorry. No wonder he couldn't play f3. My bad. Double check helps. Yeah, I forgot it was double check. Always double check. It might be mate. Now, f3 would be nice. If he could play f3, yeah, that would be alright. Alright guys, I'm going to go with the game analysis. We've got half an hour left. I'd like to get this game by Sal and the game by Soltigo. Actually, Clash Kids game. And I don't know if I even did Soltigo's game. So let's do... But administrator and moderators have to wait to the last minute. Alright, it's open. Oh shit, Lance 9, Lance 5-5. Alright. The famous Lance. E4, E5, knight f3, the Latvian. Sal played the Latvian against Lance. You didn't show us this before, right? Double check doesn't hurt my chances there. So he plays knight takes e5 and queen f6, the main line. I like the tricky knight c6 personally, but I'm sure that, you know, most people know what to do there. Queen f6, d4, d6, knight c4, pawn takes pawn. Let's see what you played. You played knight. I mean, he played knight c3. There's a famous Nimzovich game where Nimzovich plays like knight e3. What is it? Knight e3, c6, bishop c4, bishop d5, bishop b3. I really like this. You know, for white. It's insane. Like how Nimzovich came up with this. It's almost like the inspiration for the hillbilly attack against the Karo Khan. I mean, he lets his bishop get kicked back with tempo and then plays c4, and he just opens it up. Not a bad line, actually. Alright, but anyway, so it looks like Lance is going to play something more normal. I think all variations are good for white. There's no question. This opening is just good for white. But what is that? What is g3 about? That's very unusual. So Lance doesn't know what to do against the Latvian. No, f3 is obviously like the most kind of direct, you know. You want to open the position, you're ahead in development, destroy that pawn on e4. Yeah, thanks for your help, Soltigo. It's been great since you've been a moderator. You don't insult the the clientele. No, I'm just kidding. You're a good guy, and we really, really appreciate having you here. And I'm glad that you're better. But f3 is really strong. Knight e3 is like a standard line. There's tons of good lines, but Lance plays g3. I mean, okay, this move is probably not bad. I mean, I'm surprised he doesn't know the theory, or some kind of theory. So knight f6, bishop g2. It makes sense. You know, it's just another way of putting pressure on the pawn there. But it looks like you have bishop g4, and this is seriously disruptive. If you don't act fast, he's going to have a good game. So you've got to really, you know, step on it here. Bishop e7 is a little slow. Okay, castle, castle. Another slow move. This was a simul. What was the time control? Well, he's got like, what? He's got like an hour and you have 10 minutes. And so it's like 10 minutes with an extra hour for Lance or something. Okay, he's got extra time. 10-10 plus an extra hour for him. Or he just has a minute with no extra time. But how would he have just a minute here at this stage in the opening? I don't understand the time control. Is that an hour? Yeah, that's an hour. Okay. I was gonna say this is like kind of caveman. H5. What should you do here? The h5 looks doubtful. I don't know what to do. I mean, I want to play like c6 and d5 maybe. Can we try to do that? That seems a lot more stable. You know, if we can reinforce our center with d5. It looks like he should play d5 and try to mess you up. And that becomes complicated. But that would be my recommendation. h5 looks really... It doesn't further your development at all. And it actually weakens your king position a bit. You are stopping g4. But I think the bigger problem is that this pawn can become an issue. Maybe h5 isn't that bad, but I don't think it's like a plan. Bishop f4, then h4. I'm just going to hack away with like knight takes g4 and bishop takes g4. But actually this bishop on f4, now that becomes a target to like rook takes f4. The computer says that's the best move. I don't know. I guess his setup just isn't so good. This whole bishop g2 thing is very weird. So he can't play g4. He just absolutely has to like worry about this though. I mean, this is a serious problem. Knight h5, but you've got the pawn bishop takes e4 to worry about. And you've also got to watch out for stuff like knight to d5 if your knight leaves, but you still need to mobilize your pieces here. Knight e3 is a super solid move. Yeah, d5 is a no-brainer. I don't know. I want to turn off the analysis engine because it's like constantly not letting me think for myself. You know, his pieces are pretty well placed. He's basically blockading, but he can't play g4. This move, though. Instead of bishop e6, is there any other way to develop your pieces here without getting overrun or just losing the pawn on e4? I guess still, like, if c6, you can't even play it anymore because of d6 here. He's actually stopped you from playing c6 now. So your options are pretty limited. I mean, knight d7, and then what, like knight b6? You've also got to watch out for even knight b5 in some positions. So this is, okay, you force him to play this, but now what? You know, if you go here, where does your knight go? It's going to have to go out to a6, knight c5. That's not really cooperating with the rest of the pieces. What changed now? Maybe knight h5. If knight h5, he's always got bishop takes e4. You did it anyway. Wow, and this actually works. What are you going to do after bishop takes e4? That's the question. You just trade queens. Pretty tricky. I also lost to Saul, so Lance doesn't have to feel bad. Though it looks like he swindled you at the last minute. Queen f6, queen takes f6, bishop takes f6. That's pretty cool, and you're actually trading queens, getting this pawn, at least one of these pawns. At the end of the day, white's pieces are kind of strangely placed. Impressive. It turns into like a totally Nimzovician sort of position. I don't think we have to take this pawn. Maybe it's a higher priority to go knight a6, knight c5 here. So the question is, let's turn the engine back on. I'm wondering about this. Yep, it's close. Okay, rook takes f4, knight a6, because that pawn's not going anywhere. But this is more important. Like if we can play knight a6, knight c5, we never have to worry about any problem along the b file. And I think maybe it doesn't matter. But he has bishop d3. But after rook takes f4, he has to play f3 anyway, and we have time to play knight c5, so it probably doesn't matter. All right, here, perfect. Here, knight c5. Now you're clearly better. It's like a Nimzo Indian. Yeah, a5 is an interesting plan. You might be able to play rook a6, rook b6, and come in like this. And plus, ultimately, you can try to queen that pawn. So I don't mind a5. He has no clue, and he's just making moves, but he doesn't have a plan. It's very hard for white to do anything. King g2 is okay. He's totally paralyzed. He now has one idea tactically with rook e7. So I feel like you're kind of reacting to him. I mean, is there a threat here? Because I don't see it, you know. Well, there is bishop d3 followed by rook e7. I was just wondering if we could ignore it. You know, what if we go rook a6? If he plays like bishop d3, rook b6, rook e7 check, king f8. He has bishop g6 setting up the mates. Oh man. Alright, so you can't just ignore it. Lance actually has threats. He also has knight back here and then knight d3. Rook here, rook here. Just a careful move a3. I don't know about b5. So it looks like you concretely missed a win of material here. Knight takes e4. The key defensive cog in his position. Knight takes e4. If he takes this way, he's just losing a pawn. And you have the rook endgame with two connected passed pawns, which is winning. And if he takes with the rooks, every rook he trades closer to a lost king and pawn endgame. It's like resigns, g5, and resigns. So that was easy. You know, funny, like oftentimes that the winning move is actually trading your good knight for his bad bishop, because it's like the glue that holds his position together. But in the heat of battle, you're thinking, I don't want to trade for his bad bishop. But he's tricky now. And knight f2, now it's the game again, because you don't have this winning king and pawn endgame and stuff. He should have played knight f2 like a move or two earlier. And the idea of knight d3, actually he's kind of maybe holding on here. You're still better, but not so easy anymore. Did he have to go there? I guess he can't allow rook h3 or rook g3, so he has to go here, and sadly you have to trade knights. Takes with the bishop to open his rook, give himself tactics. So now what do we do? We're much better structurally, but he's got the 7th rank threat. We could play rook e5, lose a pawn, but have a massive advantage. That looks very tempting. Is that what you did? That's what you did? No. What did you do here? Bishop f5. This move looks like it kills his play. I think after rook e5, you're still in pretty good shape with chances in respect to winning. Rook e5, in my opinion, just kind of kills all his counter chances, and only black can win after that. When you play bishop f5, you're letting him into your position. It's becoming a little bit more double-edged. More dangerous, let's say. I would definitely consider king g6 here. Maybe I'm an idiot. But let's see if it's bad. Oh, he's got rook e6 check. I'm an idiot. Like this. Yeah, I guess it's not an improvement. Alright, so you might as well go king g8. And he plays this. After rook takes d5, you have at least a draw. But he stops that, and he's just like playing to win on time. He has 13 minutes here too. A very good rook ending. Grab another pawn. He has rook g2. You could play g5, but that weakens your back rank. What are you going to do? Rook f7 probably. Yeah, you play g5. It may not be a bad move. Is rook f7 worth considering here? It's kind of passive, but might be good enough. A little safer than the text move. Check. King h7, rook g4. I was thinking. Now you can play g5. So that's one thing to get him off the 7th rank. He played this one made in 1. Doesn't exist. It's good enough. And so you lost ridiculously here somehow. But it's not so easy if you're in time pressure. You're only up a pawn in a rook ending. I mean, it's amazing he made it this far. Now, I would definitely trade rooks. You're going to play, what, rook d2? This move. So if you just play like king f7, he plays c5, it's likely a draw. I guess you have to play like perfectly to not draw this now. I mean, white's very close to a draw here. Stockfish is showing one line where it's not a draw. Rook f3. This is the only win. Rook f3, and maybe not even a win. Let's see, king h2, rook a3. Rook takes d6. Rook takes a4. This is not even a sure thing. Maybe even this is a draw. It's not clear. So, I don't know how you could possibly lose other than on time. Now we need to put the rook behind the pawn. You did. Good. That's not an ultra safe move, but it will suffice. After a7, you have to go king b6 or king d5. And he managed to do like a Krivonosov here. Oh no, the ultimate move. All right, man, good game. All right, guys, let's see what we got left. 10 more minutes. Let's try to do these game analysis. We've got Clash Kids game and Bob. All right. All right, Clash Kid is white here. This is a live game. e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3. I played before against him, I think bishop e4 in some games, so he's prepared for that. The 4 knights, there's so many moves for white. d4, bishop e2, bishop e5, a3, g3. But not this. This is lame. This is lame. I mean, okay, you can play the gambit variation with knight takes e4, but objectively it's nothing. This is probably like the worst variation for white. But he doesn't do knight takes e4. You have to do knight takes e4. And your best shot is to just play the gambit, you know, castles, knight takes c3. This is actually interesting, but the smart player with black can play like my style here. I guess I played knight f6. That's one way. What's the other move? Knight d6 is kind of weird. I mean, it's okay, but these lines are a bit tricky, actually. I also think that white has... There's a famous Alekhine game that he won, I think. But objectively, yeah, knight f6 seems like... Knight f6 seems like the safest for black. Apparently you can even play knight c5. No one's done that. According to the engine, that's a move. But if you play knight takes e4, there's this d5, bishop d3. I've seen even some bullet players on lichess who know about this move. This move is actually really insane, and good for black. I mean, it's probably like at least equal. There was some crazy game I saw some bullet players playing here, strong bullet players, where it was like castles or castles f5, I think I saw played. Maybe that's not correct, but anyway, you can just take here. I don't know if that's good, but this bishop has nowhere to go after bishop takes e4, f5. There's nowhere to go anymore. I don't think I like white's position all that much. But if you play the gambit continuation, that's like reasonable. All right, but I don't know why anybody would not play knight takes e4, especially if they're not like higher rated than you. Castles d6, and this is like a bishop's opening, symmetrical bishop's opening. I used to know a really old this reminds me of a really old game at 500 Master Games of Chess, I think. Somewhere I saw this very strange pattern where if we continue symmetry forever, like bishop g5, bishop g4, bishop g5. Well, let's say no. Let's say castles. What was the line I used to know? Bishop g5, bishop g4, knight d5, knight d4. And then there was something interesting here. I can't remember. Something with queen d2 at some point, but I don't remember how it goes now. It's been too long ago. Maybe queen d2. Is that right? Is this a move? I think it's something like this. This is very weird, but it might be good for white. Queen d2. Ironically, like leaving this hanging on f3. But I haven't looked at this in like a million years, so I'm not swearing by this. Anyways, like that could happen. d3, h6. He doesn't want that to happen. And then knight a4, which looks like a normal move in this situation. So, yeah, he can afford to give up the bishop, I think, in this closed structure. Looks like it's slightly more safe to do this. Seems to... I'll answer any kind of messages, like guys, after my stream. Knight b6, not that big a deal. It looks like you're supposed to play like c3 first. But it's close to equal, I would think. This looks like a standard position, h3. Not very exciting. I wonder if black could just play bishop e6 here. You know, how bad would that be? Even with a double isolated pawns, I mean, black really might not be that bad there. Just theoretically, but I mean, it's not necessary to allow that. I mean, you can prepare it by moving like rook e8 or something. Queen e7, followed by bishop e6. Black should be okay. But again, an opening straight out of this old book, 500 Master Games of Chess. Very romantic line for white, rarely seen today, but it has some poison, and I think that black has to be careful. h3, you know, I'd rather not play that, but it's probably necessary. What else are you going to do? What you really want to do is play f4. I mean, that's the money. What you really want to do is f4. It's the plan. It's the way to break through. But how to do it? You can't do knight h4. Or can you do knight h4? It's an idea, but it's still, you won't so easily play f4 because there'll be a fork on g5 eventually. It looks like it might actually work because of knight takes e4, knight g6. This is a kind of cute variation. But, I mean, you actually win the exchange here, oddly enough. So knight h4 might be a playable move. h3, knight a5, and dropping a pawn. I feel like this is deja vu. I feel like I saw this game, but I didn't. I couldn't have seen it anywhere. You could have taken this pawn on e5 and laughed at him. So automatic response. I mean, here he even has sometimes c4 maybe. I still think that white is better, but winning a pawn is obviously winning a pawn. Did you think he had something like queen d4? Obviously that doesn't work. So it's a really bad oversight. And the Clash Kid played a 70 move game. I don't know if I can share it all with you guys. Let's try to get to the crux of the issue here. He got a winning position and then eventually drew. White is slightly better structurally. Playing for f4, you didn't do it. Shame on you for not playing f4 here. This looks really good, dude. I mean, Capablanca would like win the ending based on structure. This pawn is so strong on, you know, there's a famous game that Capablanca won where he like played f4 and then eventually, actually black was castled, it was Janowski, Capablanca Janowski, black was castled queenside, and then eventually after doing f4, he did a minority attack on the king side, traded off the pawns on the king side and had a protected passed pawn on e4 and just won the rook ending based on the protected passed pawn. But this is an important feature of the position. You need to play f4. That's your whole plan. You played queen e2 first. Maybe you were preparing it. He obviously sees it coming. There it is, f4. Okay. Could he have stopped it? No. Alright. So, good plan. I don't know if I like the queen on e2, though, because you're kind of, like, setting yourself up for tactics. He has stuff like knight d5, like, who knows. There it is. Move the queen again. That's sort of a shame, you know. So now he's like, okay, because he takes your bishop. I'd still be playing for a win with white, but you gave away like some of your advantage. This looks like a really tough position. The engine thinks you should trade queens. Pin him down to a7. Dude, you're just winning a pawn. I guess you didn't see rook takes b6. Is Clash Kid still here? He might have just missed this or something in his analysis. But that's tragic. He's just winning there. So, he had a couple opportunities. This just clear winning a pawn. Earlier, he could have won a pawn. So being a little more precise tactically, this is obviously awful for black. But he hangs on to his pawn. It wasn't necessary to let him hang on to the pawn. Maybe Clash Kid needs to be a little more materialistic. Still making progress now. That pawn wedged on h4, I don't really like it. Last attempt here. Oh no. So you came up with this crushing b takes c5. Oh my god. And that basically gives him a winning position. This insane intermezzo with c6. Clash Kid only misses simple tactics. He doesn't miss like cool, creative, temporary rook sacrifices. B takes c5, but he allows this. Wow. And then there you could do knight takes c7 even, but I guess that's just equal. Wow, this is crazy. And you've got this crushing knight and this pawn phalanx here. With the pawn on c6, that's amazing. But it's still not that easy. Wow, my computer is saying +1. Somebody else is said 2.2. My engine's not that strong, my computer's not that fast. It may really be like +2. Just seal him in. But how are you going to break through? You're going to have to swing the rook back, put the knight on b4, and then bring your rook back to the other side. Yeah, this is good. Just move all the pawns up. Nice. Yeah, they're like 97 even. Might be strong. Clash Kid eventually let it slip. Must have been an awful blunder. That's amazing that you're actually not winning here anymore. Anyway, guys, very complicated game, very long. I want to get to the last game. Bob. Interesting points in that game, though. Very, very long 70-move game. I'm not going to go through the end. Ananas against Bob. This is Bob is black. Last game for today, guys. Yeah, he was like +2, where my engine actually said +1. I believe that Clash Kid's probably right. That's a very deep position with all those pawns advancing. I mean, it's hard for the engine to see over the horizon if it doesn't have enough time to calculate. There's a lot of very long variations where those pawns are like coming down over a long, long period. It's got to be able to analyze very, very deeply to come up with a really accurate evaluation there. That's a super complex position, but eventually, like, Clash Kid kind of lost his way. This is Ananas against Bob. Ananas is a really solid player who plays on the stream often. He likes to play the Catalan with White Bob, and he's pretty nasty in this Catalan. He gets a nice slight advantage, and he just doesn't let you really, you know, equalize. G3, and then Bob played C5, so he's transposing to the Tarrasch defense, which is always fine. Actually, we've got to end the stream in a few minutes, but Arsenal fan, one of our regulars here, was asking like earlier about the Tarrasch defense, why, you know, more top players don't play it, and I don't really have an answer. I mean, I guess because it's like pretty forcing. Many variations involve a lot of, like, you know, really old known variations. There's not that many new ideas, but I think at the lower levels, the Tarrasch is a great opening. I actually enjoy playing against it. Here Black can also take with a knight and going into some sort of semi-Tarrasch, which is what Bob did. Traditionally, like, the normal Tarrasch is e takes d5, which is fine. Here's some Kasparov games with Black back in the day in 1984, before I was even a member of the U.S. Chess Federation. Kasparov had a match, you know, with Karpov, and they had some games in that, but Kasparov would give up playing the Tarrasch. Knight takes d5 is more solid. Bishop g2, knight c6, castles, bishop e7, and here knight c3 is the main move, I thought, but apparently d takes c5 is more common. Grandmaster Laszlo Ganda did this against one of the players in my GM tournament in December. There was a game, Ganda versus Bokrosh, and Ganda is like kind of expert in these very small advantages, and I thought it was just totally quality, and then the next minute I looked over and Bokrosh was resigning. So there's like this very small but almost imperceptible kind of advantage that White can get in these positions. It's not that fun. But knight c3 is kind of the main move there. Bishop e7, b3, that's a rare move, and I think that it shows that Ananas, you know, he wasn't really prepared for the semi-Tarrasch. Bishop f6, bishop b2, and then b6. This is dangerous on the long diagonal. So what should you do here? Did you make a mistake earlier? You can just take here, Bob. That's your problem. This is the question. He can't take back because of knight takes, queen takes, and bishop f6. So can he do this temporary pawn sacrifice with bishop e2? And this has never ever been played. Check this out. There's an insane variation here. e5. This is stockfish, but knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and queen takes d4, forking the knights on e5 and d5. And in this way, it looks like white can get his pawn back. Bishop f6, this is a funny variation. If you take on d5, black's actually winning. Queen takes d5, bishop takes d5, and knight f3 check, winning the exchange on b2. So white has to find queen e4, like a ridiculous move, saying, no, I insist on taking the knight on e5. I'm not going to fall for that trick, you know, with bishop takes b2. And then black's, no, I insist on you losing the exchange with queen e7. And then white's like, no, I insist on you not castling. But anyway, it's like very complicated. This is computer variation, obviously. But I think you caught him in a line he doesn't know, Bob. And ultimately, your more accurate move was c takes d. Bishop f6 is tempting, though. Bishop b2. And looks like there's an actual game in 2014. But unfortunately, he's okay here. You know, after knight takes d4, I think he still has a tiny edge. Like he somehow got into a kind of normal position again. You missed your window of opportunity to play that trick with c takes d right away. This was really essential that you play c takes d right away. And when you miss this window, he's he's got to find that tricky line. But b6, it just visually looks dangerous to me. Does he have knight e5 or something? Not good enough, huh? Apparently he can play e4. This is not that obvious, though. It actually closes the long diagonal. Guess he just has a strong center, huh? There's no good place to go. Knight c7. And then e5. And then he's going to go the other diagonal again. Bishop e7. Pretty complicated. D takes c5. Bishop takes c5 or whatnot. Doesn't have a clear win. He doesn't have a clear win. He just has like a space advantage. Queen takes d8, knight takes d8. And you can defend your long diagonal with bishop b7. So it's just slightly better for white. You're not like losing along the long diagonal. So he didn't do that, though. He just played passively. This is just a blunder. I mean, it looks like you're just taking this on d4. I mean, what's the deal? Apparently he can still play knight e4, but it looks strange. You didn't take, and you let him play e4, and he still didn't do it. Tempting. It's very tempting to play e4. He plays this positional approach, and you give him your dark squared bishop. White was playing super conservative, not taking any risks at all. e4, knight there, and then a3, and your knight's just kicked out. That's not good. This is where things start to go haywire completely. Very awkward. Though you're still hanging on. This looks like a decent move. It's just a little too convoluted. Rook d7. Then this move. Why this move? Why not continue with your plan with rook d8? That's much more consistent. You kind of mixed two plans. You played rook d7. You're like, no, I'm going to do the other plan now with knight c7. But this is more like direct. You're putting direct pressure on the center. You kind of hesitated for a second with knight c7. And he has time for this. And now you're just... Queen is kind of overloaded between the d7 and the c5. He who hesitates, Bob, is lost. It was all good until rook d8. Yeah, it's awkward with the knight on a6. He has the bishop pair, yet you're still okay. Even with a weird knight and white having this bishop pair. I guess the bishop pair doesn't really count because this one is sort of neutralized. The other one's kind of blocked by its own pawns. So, Bob, everything was okay till you allowed this trick. Knight c7, d takes c5, and you can't defend both. Rook takes d1. And anyway, like, your structure is destroyed. Even if he doesn't win a pawn here. Like, I guess you should take back. I don't know. Yeah, this is just downhill. Okay, queen takes c5, rook d1 check may be good for white. I'm not sure, but he just doesn't even... He will not win material. And then he fell for the knight g5. He didn't see it. This is a classic Catalan Queen's Indian trick. I guess it doesn't win a piece or anything, though. You just take here, and your knights are forked. And that's the game. Can't save the knights. Anyway, guys, thank you, Bob. Thanks, everyone. Saul said, what's your maximum budget? What are you guys talking about? Buying computers? All right. I will be back tomorrow morning, Friday, with 10 a.m. Blitz and Rapid Chess here on lichess and Twitch. This was our subscriber stream. Tomorrow we play just Blitz and Rapid Chess. Thursday nights I like to focus more on the game analysis rather than playing Blitz and stuff. We had a couple games, but mostly we had quite a few subscriber games to analyze. You just fell asleep when your game gets analyzed. Yeah, Clash Kid, anyway, it was a really long game, 70 moves. I went through like the first 2/3 of the game, and I think it was some interesting points. I really liked your sacrifice tactic, you know, but you missed some easy wins, like winning a pawn 2 times in the opening. So it seems like you see the complicated ideas, but you're not looking for the one move winning a pawn type of tactics. But that opening, it's interesting, like bishop c4. I don't know if I really want to play that. I mean, knight takes e4. How are you going to continue after that? You know, that's the question. Anyway, guys, I will see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching and subscribing on Twitch. It was fun. And again, Friday, tomorrow morning, we're going to be streaming 10 a.m. Sunday, I have a simul this week. It's 6:30 p.m. CET, 40/40 time control this time. So it's a little longer than I've been doing the last couple of weeks. That's a little more, you know, better for everyone. We have more time to think, can play like a higher quality game. So Sunday simul, 6:30 p.m., 40/40 time control. Thank you, Soltigo, for being here. Thanks everyone for subscribing. I'm losing my voice, so I am gonna call it a night. And thanks for donations we've had on PayPal. If you guys can support the stream or my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, where I upload the streams, I really appreciate the patronage and the support. Got to get a new mouse this week. I will see you guys tomorrow on Friday. Bye-bye.